What is up, everybody? It's Sam here with BFPGear.com, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of myth busting. And the myth that we're going to bust is the urban legend, a tale as old as time that we hear here. Funny how the English language works. But it is a story that we hear here all of the damn time, and it is about frozen paintballs. Today is October 1st. It is, let's see, what time is it on October 1st here? It is 4:26 p.m. And we're going to basically put this bag of paint in a freezer, and then we're going to go grab it tomorrow, and then we're going to see what happens when you freeze your paintballs. So traditionally, the story you hear from back in the day is we used to freeze our paintballs. It would make them harder. It was like shooting rocks or marbles or something like that. Maybe like 20 plus years ago that was true, but nowadays what happens is if you freeze paintballs, the shell's going to become more brittle. Sometimes there's little air pockets inside, and then that air, you know, just it compresses because it gets colder, and then it dimples. And sometimes the paintballs don't even make it out of your paintball marker because the shell is too brittle. But we're going to go ahead and put this bag in a freezer, and we're going to go grab it tomorrow. And then try to put it through my trusty GOR5 here, shooting at about 280 feet per second. And we're just gonna see what happens. Oh, we're obviously gonna do a drop test with the paint as well, because, you know, you gotta drop test paint. Whenever you're at tournaments and stuff, you always see these guys, you know, drop testing paint because you want the most brittle paint. We're gonna see how much more brittle this paint gets. So with that said, we're gonna walk over to the freezer. We're gonna take a little trip and put this in our freezer. Got our bag of paint, and we got a freezer. We're gonna just put that in there and then come back tomorrow and see what happens when you freeze your paintballs. And I'm also gonna volunteer myself to get shot by frozen paintballs. So you're welcome. All right, so October 2nd. It's 3:21 p.m. It's been about 24 hours. I've got a just regular open bag of paint here. We're gonna grab our frozen bags. Come on, let's get this thing. Literally chilling in here. Now it's time to take it outside and do a drop test, and we're gonna shoot some of it and see what the difference is with frozen paint and just non-frozen paint. Well, got that paint out of the freezer here, and you can kind of tell, I mean, my hand's got a little bit of condensation on it already. But I mean, back in the day, you know, paintballs, when you would freeze them, they would get pretty rock solid, but sometimes the shell would get stuck to one another. But because this stuff's oil-based now, it just kind of moves around freely. But we're gonna open this bag of the frozen paintballs, and I already have the open bag of the standard paintballs, and we're just gonna do a little drop test before we start shooting them. All right, so I'm just gonna grab like 5 of each here. So this is the regular stuff, and then let me grab the frozen stuff. It's all nice and cold. So you're not really gonna notice a terribly big difference between how they look, but we're gonna sit here and drop some of these. So I'm gonna start with the regular non-frozen. So you see how like the splatter, this stuff, the frozen stuff should be a little bit more brittle. So that broke, but nothing came out because the fill is definitely like a lot more viscous. But you can see that it's brittle and it just gets kind of stuck. So the myth is basically like the frozen paintballs are going to effectively be like rocks or marbles. Obviously what we just did here it just disproves that. It's not true. It just becomes more brittle. We got my Geo right there. So now we're gonna see what happens when we shoot regular paint through it, and then we'll put maybe a hopper of the frozen paint through it and see if we can make it shoot through the gun without it breaking. All right, so I put in just a handful of the non-frozen paintballs into the loader here, and we're just gonna shoot the wall. So I'm gonna shoot that right side where there's that like kind of brownish spot with the standard paint, and we're gonna see how it breaks and how it looks. And then we'll shoot frozen paint to the left. So let's start with the regular stuff here. All right, just waiting for a thumbs up here. We're good to go. So as you can see, You know, that's just like 5 or 6 shots, and it's like the splatter is just kind of going all over the place. So let's just rope this real quick. So every ball made it out, and then we have this very like bright, vibrant, you know, yellow fill, obviously, and then the shell's still stuck on the wall a little bit, and the paint kind of splatters a little bit everywhere. There's like yellow, you know, hitting the edges of bricks and stuff. But how is that going to look when I shoot frozen paint through it? Will it even make it out of the gun? Will the hits be like that big? Let's find out. All right, this is the frozen stuff, and just to prove that it is, I'll just drop it, and it's just not. It broke like instantly. I mean, so let's see how a GOR5 handles frozen paintballs. All right, we're gonna shoot to the left. So let's see what happens. There we go. So now it's just not gonna. So now I got one barrel break there, but they're also kind of curveballing everywhere too, because the shells get dimpled and stuff like that. So it's not a very good fun experience. But let's just see what happens if I just try to string it. So just to reiterate on that, you can see that the splatter still has kind of that same like marking capability, so to speak, but the shell is like super stuck to it. I even got a barrel break too, and I'm shooting one of like the more high-end tournament grade paintball markers out there. Yes, this was bore match. We're shooting a 684 bore, but I had a barrel break and I had curveballs go everywhere because of that dimpled shell and the dimpled paint and stuff like that. And now I got to clean my barrel. Like, I mean, you can see that right there, just oozing out of the porting. But the frozen paintball thing, it's just a myth. You know, frozen paintballs, like if you're, if someone's talking about, you know, freezing paintballs and they're trying to put it through like a rental gun or a beginner setup or something like that, those paintballs are probably not making it out of the gun or the barrel anytime soon. I mean, I got one break on a high-end tournament grade marker, and I was watching them veer off in multiple directions as I'm shooting, and I'm not even shooting that far away. It's like 30 feet away. So if someone starts talking about frozen paintballs and that they hurt more, simply put, it's an urban legend. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. We did the drop test with them. We put them through a tournament grade paintball marker, and the results speak for themselves. If you're looking to pick up any kind of paintball equipment, or maybe you want to pick up some of the Dynasty paint we shot, well, head on over to BFPGear.com and get those orders in today.